Today, Rinpoche continued his explanation of Nagarjuna's precious garland, stating the position that all things are not truly established, but they are not causeless and they are not non-existent. So this section deals with the negation of the nihilistic view that things are causeless. And if one believes that things don't exist, then they have to believe that things also exist, because we see the two sides of all reality. So if we welcome everyone to the Chenrezig Tibetan Buddhist Center once again, looking at Nagarjuna's precious garland, we find that we have the similar content to the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment that we went over, just as a translator's note. So if we were to divide all of Lord Buddha's teachings into categories, or put them into a way that we could practice them in an order and summarize them, we would do so by categorizing them according to capacities. Lord Atisha, in The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, presented this idea that there were teachings for beings of three capacities. So the first category of teachings that were presented were called the teachings shared in common with beings of small capacity. And these were teachings for beings who wished to achieve a next rebirth that was positive, rebirth into the higher realms of cyclic existence. According to Buddhism, there are higher realms and lower realms. The higher realms consist of the human realms, the demigods, and the gods realm, and the lower realms consist of the animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. So this makes up the 6 realms of cyclic existence. And the first category of teachings were for practitioners who wished to achieve rebirth in those higher realms of cyclic existence. And these were called the teachings shared in common with beings of small capacity. And the Buddha stated that by practicing refuge, going for refuge to the 3 jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, engaging in ethical behavior that abandons the 10 non-virtuous activities, and acknowledging when one has engaged in negativity, by practicing these things, the Buddha stated that one would have a higher realm rebirth. The next category of teachings were for beings who wished to achieve a complete liberation from samsara, from cyclic existence altogether, who wished to achieve what was called nirvana. And the Buddha stated that by engaging in the 3 highest higher trainings, the highest higher training in ethics, concentration, and wisdom, one would be able to have independence upon those practices, a complete cessation of suffering altogether, complete cessation of cyclic existence, and achieve a state of nirvana. And then the final category of teachings were teachings for beings of great capacity. These teachings were for beings who wished to achieve complete Buddhahood. A Buddhahood that was not only, Buddhahood is not only free from all suffering, but also has a state of awareness that is omniscient. So it puts that being in the utmost position to be of benefit to others who are suffering. So the Buddha stated, by engaging in the previously mentioned teachings as a foundation and then coupling them with bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to become a Buddha, and then from that realization practicing the 6 perfections of generosity, ethics, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom, that one would be able to become a Buddha. So this is how all of the teachings are summarized into 3 categories, and that if you're wondering where Tantrayana goes in the final category, the teachings for beings of great capacity. That category has 2 divisions, the perfection vehicle and the resultant vehicle, or the tantric vehicle.
Yeah.
So now, if you want to turn, everybody who has a copy of the Precious Garland, I have an extra copy of something that's translated by someone else maybe, but it's pretty similar if you want to use that, if anybody needs an extra copy. So we are on stanza, no matter what book, 46, seeing production as caused, one passes beyond non-existence. Seeing cessation as caused, one also does not assert existence. Okay. Dixon.
46
The 46.
结局上皆通于结局上皆通于每百年来的报应我吧决当皆通于越百年都开门了越百年都开门了开门了俺这我当俺这居民多居民多他担保住居民社会知道吧
Less so.
大当亚大大年就往热度马扎是就往热度马扎是这边呢那种不人不有呢通行但这送的嘛了呗人不了但通怕了但这我的但这送的多
Less so.
人不有呢通行
Less so. This self.
那这边呢那这不是妈妈说有些东西妈妈有把人那妈妈了但有用了吧
Less so.
人不有那通行
Less so.
让给我来买
Less so.
让些就做不买
Less
怎
so.
么做不买妈妈就啊买不起
Less so.
我讲就啊买不起就啊买不起这这觉得这通行你的接近多这来用啊开朗白这来用都被大众开朗白买不你都开门了买不你都
That's cool.
Ja.
Den är det that's cool. Den är det Dendel Kalen.
ja
The Ju Mepa Pamba.
ja
Ju Me Pamba.
有没有办法
Okay.
但是因为就是在帮忙吧
Less so. Yine Ju Mepa Yomare.
就买不有办法
Less so. Okay.
在帮助就买吧
Demba Drupa Ju Mepa.
yeah
Okay. Okay, so 46. Seeing production as caused, one passes beyond non-existence. Seeing cessation as caused, one also does not assert existence. Previously produced and simultaneously produced are non-causes, thus they are no causes in fact, because such production is not confirmed at all as existing conventionally or in reality. When this is, that arises, like short when there is long. Due to the production of this, that is produced, like the light from the production of a flame. When there is long, there is short. They do not exist through their own nature, just as due to the non-production of a flame, light also does not arise. Having thus seen that effects arise from causes, one asserts that what appears in the conventions of the world and does not accept nihilism. So in this text, they're again going through negations of various tenet systems. If you are to assert that there is some inherent existence in something, then it has to have come into being either from itself, from something else that makes it inherently existent, a combination of both, or it is causeless in somehow. It's just random, that there isn't any 1, 2, 3. It's just a random arisal of a book or of a person. So what this is negating here is the idea that there's just this random arisal, that a book just appears here, and that it has its own identity because it just appears here in some way. So this idea that it just appears here is negated by the idea that there are many parts and so forth that come together in order for this thing to be here as what we see it. So no matter how we look at anything, whether we look at long, like the idea of something is very long, there has to be something that's short that we're comparing it to. We have to have an idea of something else that isn't long for us to establish long. And for us to establish that something is short, we have to establish that something is longer than that. But then when we establish that something's short, as soon as we find something shorter, it's long. So it doesn't have any inherent existence as this or that. It merely depends upon a very specific set of causes and so forth coming together to bring it into being. So it isn't causeless and it just appears here like this. So how does this help us? Why are we here? That big question. Who are we and why are we here? Do we just appear here randomly? And that's what the school of the nihilists believe. The nihilists believe in randomness. They believe that we're just randomly just appeared. And then this negates that idea because we know we had parents. We know that in order for there to be Jeff, there are all these aggregates and parts that have to come together that then serve as a suitable thing to be called Jeff. There isn't some random thing that took place. There are very specific causes and effects, sperm and egg and parents and a thought to have a kid or a thought to at least do the thing that makes a kid. Like all of those things had to come together in order for me to be sitting here. It wasn't random. So it's negating this idea that it was random and negating the idea that it was self-produced because we see all of these other things. So how is it occurring? It's occurring through interdependence, through dependent origination. So that's what this is. It is not truly established because it dependently originates. What does truly established mean? It means that it's not sitting here inherently existent by itself. And that's how, the negation of Jeff having a soul is negated. Because how are we creating Jeff? There's a collection that's being named. Well, when those parts die and fall apart, what's left there? A consciousness. Is that Jeff still? So that's why this becomes an important conversation, because you start to figure out how this moment we're having relates to our future lives and how future lives are possible and how illogical it is for there not to be a previous life and a future life. And all of that only comes about through this type of analysis of kind of blowing apart the way that we look at everything and then kind of putting it back together in a way that's realistic instead of the way we cling to it. That's ugly, that's pretty, that's a good car, that's a bad car. When all you have to do is put a better one or a prettier one according to society next to it, and then it's not what you thought it was anymore. So it's all dependent upon this labeling that we're doing all of the time, and this labeling that we're doing is incorrect because nothing has this inherent identity we think it does. So then because we are ignorant and believe it has this inherent identity, we cling to it, we get mad when we lose it, we don't want anyone else to have it, and so forth. And it's all a result of mistaking this idea that there's some inherent existence. Diso, Rinpoche. That's more alason. Yene the Cheran sonchen alason. Ngay sarpa zumason. Cheran ngami sonchen.
Meba pananganundo. Meba pananganundo. Ki le meba ina. And then Gansul Genegres. Ki le yoba ina. Denul Genegres. Yoba pan denudo. Yanda Jiji.
Rinpoche chu kabiore. The ngatsu ngapchu ngachi.
Jiu Shedu.
Jepchu shedru. Okay.
Ngadu.
The ngachu ya yomare. Ngachu ngachi lesson.
Ngachi.
Ngachi.
Yeah.
Ngay tsapa de.
Yeah.
The ngachi. Ngay tuma.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuche.
Gobatu le majunwa. Gobatu le majunwa. Yanda jiji ni choroba. Kena yoba ni menjoro tena ni me temba tul ni me temba tul nyuma ba chi diba ni me bala ten tabal ndores
Lesso.
tari nene ton yuzu nyewa na ji sewa ton penju kete chuyina nyewa na ji jim ton Chetar Rinwa Naje ne Jiden na Yada Tong and Remeda Tong Tende rimala ten tong ten de she de do te dar de dang ne na je me tong se me me ju jin je de me ju chun ra wa chu mi de do mai ba de jin pong bu dan ra wa da me de do pong bu dan ra wa na ge de pong bu da ma res me ju la ne Trishi,
Rinpoche.
yeah, college,
Rinpoche.
yeah,
De drogu.
yeah.
De tamboni pasamba jepa.
Oh, didn't do so.
De losan.
Oh, lose.
De losan.
Oh,
Oh. Okay. The. Okay. The daring, the neni tonwe zu. That's kali shilokachi. The tajik, the lorona. The tajik.
oh.
Yeah. The
Tarin and Tony
lesser.
Tarim, Johnny, Tony
Lesser.
Tanya Belez on the Sebaton.
Lesser. To check.
Sebaton.
Lesser.
Major get the tree now. Children draw the trick on the earn as you are, or the chumar, the get the tree in by ina. Nyawan not the Chematons. Major the tree in by ina. Children Tanya Belend and Tongo were the Tongomaris.
Lesser. The jitar.
Chetar Yawan not Jenna. Jeden the Nayadaton. Talangarimbo, Shinrimbo, what the Sayuro, Remeto Tongo, Dende, Remela Tongola Dende.
Lesser.
Jeden the Nayadaton. Tata, Yana J. Maton, Seme, Mejujin. Chetar Meju Chudawa. Chumi Tundo Maimba. Tejin Pombo Dan Rawa. Da me, Tundo me. Pendulana
Teacher.
the Trishe. Sans de son allé. Get the Trite, Mandushe. Zembatan Lambani. Zembatan Lambani. Penju Trite about the Lombards. Teni,
Dejin.
Major
Data.
Tabuna. Cheta Yuji Mabashi. Zembatan Mobate. Moba Yuna Mondolo. Moba Chuna Davatruba Moba Yoba Davatruba Mo Yuna and the
Tarpioma.
quality matters.
Lesser.
Mondolo. College.
Okay, tuche. So, one who asserts just as it is cessation that does not arise from conventions does not pass into existence. Thereby one not relying on duality is liberated. So when one sees the lack of true establishment of cause and effect, the lack of true establishment of subject and object, then when one sees that, one does not pass, when one sees that lack of true existence, one is liberated. It says one does not pass into existence. That means pass into this idea that things are truly existent, that they have some inherent status of this or that is permanent. That will always be. So it's that misapprehension that keeps one in cyclic existence, seeing that lack of duality, seeing that neither subject or object, these things are not truly established, is what allows us to be liberated. It is that ignorance that binds us to all the negative things that we do. A form seen from a distance is seen clearly by those nearby. If a mirage were water, why is water not seen by those nearby? The way this world is seen as real by those afar is not so seen by those nearby, for whom it is signless like a mirage. So it's saying that those who are only seeing what the eye perceives without analyzing it in any way are clinging to true establishment, are misapprehending the world So it says those who are looking at it from afar. So that's saying someone who isn't analyzing how things truly exist is just sitting in ignorance, and is the same as someone who is seeing a mirage in the distance and believing it's water. And someone who analyzes it very clearly is able to see that those things are not as they appear, just as one who recognizes that a mirage is just a mirage. And it says, just as a mirage is seemingly water, but not water and does not... But water just as a mirage is seemingly water, but not water and does not in fact exist as water, so the aggregates are seemingly a self, but not a self and do not exist in fact. So this self that we cling to, this idea of ego, this idea of I, is merely a designation, is merely a name put on these aggregates, put on this, aggregates just mean parts, put on this collection of parts, the consciousness, our form, our color, all of these parts, and then a name is put on it. It appears that there is some true self that we cling to as this being sitting here, but there merely is a consciousness that's responding to this collection of parts and then reacting. And if it misapprehends everything that it encounters, then it reacts negatively, just as a mirage is seemingly water. So it, just as a translator's note, when we see something that we cling to that we think is the best, it's seemingly the best, but all we need is something a little better next to it, and it's no longer the best. So it isn't the best. It's no more the best than there's water in the distance when one sees a mirage. Both are not existent. The water in the mirage is not existent, and best is also not existent. There is no such thing as best if there is better to be found. So anyway, and then you would, if you said you could find better, you would have to say who's defining what is best, and best for what. So it's saying that someone who hasn't looked at things that closely is seeing things like seeing a mirage, seeing them incorrectly. Having thought a mirage to be water and then having gone there, someone would just be stupid to surmise that water does not exist. So saying that just because you aren't seeing it correctly, don't say we're not here. Because there's a school that believes that we just don't exist. Because of emptiness, nothing's here. And that couldn't be further from the truth. We are all here. This all exists. So it'd be stupid to say just because you're misapprehending things and you realize that you are, that then nothing exists. Just like when you realize that isn't water in the distance, you don't say there's no water on earth. So that's what it's saying. One who conceives of the mirage-like world that it does or does not exist is consequently ignorant. When there is ignorance, one is not liberated. So what causes us to be in cyclic existence and suffer? It is clinging to things incorrectly. And if we continue to cling to things incorrectly, we will continue to get the result that we get from looking at things wrong, which is suffering again and again. Ngadun lesson. See. Mepa ne.
Mepa ban ngandro, gi le mena, ngandro res, gi le yona, dendro res.
Lesso.
Mepa ban dendro. Yanda ji yon she, ni la mate taban joros, nemo ba shi jibal mate ba taban res.
Lesso.
Yanda ji yon she be, medan yuba. Mendebe, Geshe Meba, Pajuna, Chishu Yuba, Menjuro, Kete Yuba, Sun Yu, Deba Druba Yuba, Deba Meba Shizuna, Tunji Tene, Meba Lan, Tijin Meba, Sun Yu, Yuba Chishu, Melan. Tada tunji kanda tunji me yanda tunji medu tam chashin meshula shachu tenshir semela yanda jitar meba shi, yanda jitar meba shi, deba chubu meba. Kansa pumpu mawa yi, jite chanya wuchu tang, kume chi la kiti shi, yumen deba pena tri. Teshi chanji na jine, tenpa chime yumen le, deba samo, sheba, chuju kumba, wayin chi.
Okay, did that. Kaleju. Okay. There. Okay. A follower of non-existence goes to bad transmigration. So again, this is talking about the followers of nihilism, those who believe that nothing matters, nothing exists. There's no difference beyond good and evil. You'll see Western philosophers who have this idea of nihilism, where nothing matters. You can find strains of it actually in Nietzsche, I think, Nietzsche's writing, where there's this nihilistic view. But anyway, this is negating it, saying that those who follow this nihilistic view aren't realizing cause and effect and aren't understanding dependent origination and cause and effect, and aren't understanding that from virtue comes happiness, and from non-virtue comes suffering. So those who don't understand that engage in those causes to have suffering all of the time because they don't differentiate between the two. So it's saying a follower of non-existence goes to bad transmigrations and a follower of existence goes to happy transmigrations. Through correct and true knowledge, one does not rely on dualism and becomes liberated. So it's saying a follower of existence. It's not saying, so it's saying someone who thinks that nothing exists will behave accordingly. Nothing matters, nothing exists, and that will cause them to have suffering because there is concordance with negative behavior and suffering. Cause and effect are always concordant. Results are concordant with causes in anything that you look at. So when you look at it in that sense, if it doesn't matter, then you're going to be accumulating things regularly that are negative karma. It says followers of existence go to happy migrations. Here, this is speaking of those who can assert existence and emptiness simultaneously. That not only you understand the nature of reality, but you understand that things do exist. It's saying that those people have happy migrations. One does not rely on dualism and becomes liberated. If through correct and true knowledge, such wise persons do not assert existence and non-existence, and thereby you think that they follow non-existence, why should they not be followers of existence? If from refuting existence, non-existence would accrue to them, because if there's this, there's that. So they're saying that if there's non-existence, is there existence? What are you basing? If everything's non-existent, then doesn't that mean it exists? Because then that would be everything exists non-existently. So it's starting to say, well, then how is that so? If you're saying that if you're okay with non-existence and everything doesn't exist, then you're stating that everything doesn't exist exists. So anyway, it's just getting into that wordy, heady stuff now. Why from refuting non-existence would existence not accrue to them? They implicitly have no nihilistic thesis and also have no nihilistic behavior, and due to relying on the path to enlightenment have no nihilistic thought. Hence, how can they be regarded as nihilists? Some other philosophical systems view the Madhyamika Prasangika of stating that things don't truly exist as nihilism. And that's why it's so hard to understand. You have to be able to assert existence and simultaneously be able to state that it is not truly existent. So that's the misinterpretation of Madhyamika is always nihilism. And that's why it's a tricky thing and you have to have a good teacher because it's very subtle. How can they be... Ask the Samkhyas, the followers of Kannada. Samkhya tradition are the enumerators. Most yoga traditions follow. Many yoga traditions follow Samkhya tradition. They believe all things categorically go to 25 enumerators. The followers of Kannada and the Nigranthas These are all ancient Indian philosophical systems, and the worldly proponents of a person in aggregates, whether they propound what passes beyond is and is not. So this is the creator-God theory, those who have this idea that an external being created everything. So it's just negating all of these different things logically. Thereby know that the ambrosia of the Buddha's teaching is called profound, an exclusive doctrine passing far beyond is and is not. So that's the middle way. The middle way philosophy is it exists, but it doesn't exist the way you think it does. It doesn't inherently exist. Why? It's just a collection of parts coming together. So Buddhism, Madhyamaka, not just Buddhism, because Buddhism has every view that could be held. The Buddha stated that when we're talking about this, we're talking about the highest view presented in Buddhism, and it says it passes well beyond is and is not. How could the world exist, in fact, with a nature passed beyond the three times, not going when disintegrating, not coming, and not staying for even an instant? So it's saying that there's a past, a present, and a future. Because of that, it's obviously dependently originating. Like this moment's from before moment, and the moment in a minute will be from the moment before it. So it's not static. So how could you say that it is inherently existent? Because it's not static. And not saying it doesn't even stay for an instant. Because the coming, going, and staying of the world in nirvana do not exist as their own reality, what difference is there, in fact, between the two? Let me just see where we read to. 6, that's... so bad with numbers. I never have to read numbers. 61, 62, 63. What number did I just read?
63.
Okay. Decent. That's more than the shine drum. Shikne drum.
Shiba ane nyabi ale
Shine.
ron.
Oh, shine.
Shine. Shine de la don sa.
Allez. Shine drome.
Shine drome. Omeji. Keji jane menebe. Tu son deba. Da jiden. Tenda tundo. Jiwe dan. Kanshi. Niga. 다도네 로동 원당 내면바 대바주 로아동 원 그지 손라문도 마송와라 로아메스 오마자와시는 손다 두드레 로아 대바마루바 원 대바마
Ale. 니 케마son yenengeya hakobu.
Yeah.
Then we don't have. That's okay. Do you have the Ocean of Reasoning with you by chance for some weird reason? Okay. All right. It's okay. You have it? With you?
No, I took it out this morning.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you took it out. Got it. Decent. So I can give it a shot anyway. So how could the world exist, in fact, with a nature passed beyond the three times, not going when disintegrating, not coming, and not staying even for an instant? And we see in Nagarjuna's root wisdom text, the Mulya Madhyamika Karika, where there are entire chapters spent on action, motion, etc. So there is no coming, there's no going, there's no staying. Therefore, movement is not truly exist. It's dependent upon collection as everything else is. So it's just the negation of the idea of truly established going or coming. In order for there to be going, there has to be coming. In order for there to, etc. So, just establishing relationships between and interdependence. Relationships and interdependence. The ganshir ni ngetsampa. I don't. The ganshir ni yang dadu.
Ganshiro. Ganshir ni ga yang dadu.
It doesn't read like a Tibetan book would. They don't read like that. They read like this. So I have to keep showing him that it goes like this. That's all. Less so.
tonto chabar chitabo neba menshi chewa dan gaba yanda ni mina chewa dan neba dan chewa dan neba dan gaba tonto kalashi kete tatu juna ne chita kechi mayingu kete juwa mena ne mataba shi do taba to mataba tonto jeni kalanjuro tonto jeni kalanjuro suji gan tanje do sebe kechi
Rimche, that's good. De lo,
Yeah.
de lo.
Okay.
Gonga Mebchi.
Yeah.
This is an English book we're using, and it's like that's not how Tibetan is read. Tibetan's read left to right, so Rinpoche just keeps skipping, trying to go left to right, because that's how he's read for 87 years. So this just not in the same format it normally would be in a Tibetan book. So that's what keeps happening. Nepa mechir, jepa dang.
Kanshi nye gang tato ne rudang wonto ne meba tishir jiten
This
Ah.
shiloka de.
ya
Nepa mechir, jepa dang.
neba menshi chewa dang
Kappa.
neba menshi chewa dang neba menshi neba deba druba neba menshi shir
Lesso.
jul reba chewa yuwa res
Lesso.
chewa dang
Lesso.
gaba chewa yuwa dang gagaro da gaba yanda
Lesso.
ni mina gaba yanda ni mina chewa dang neba dang gaba tunu kalashi
Gelde.
kete tatu
Tata.
junane tatu junane chetra kechi mayingu kete juwa menane tunatu jeni kalanjuru
Bene shukchi. Shukchi.
tadi shushir
Yomare shukchi. Bene de shukchi.
ala shuji gan
Da.
taje do sebi kechi ju chang na manda ni meme shir tena ni ga ridemi ro do ni ga deba zhubo ma yi song den sir
KG in.
keji ina reme shir keji ina reme shir
45.
nyeba gata kala shi chala nyeba to nyu saba sa juro
Lesso.
o
Lesso.
tu tende song den sir
Lesso. Lesso.
ten shir keji maina nyeba gata kala shi chetar keji tayo ba
Shiri abudu.
keji tayo ba dejin tu tang yu da gu sos ta yu me daji shi gu res da gu so chetar keji song da shir jiten keji neba mi toma yu dang tama yang tota pa song sa to wa tende de ba ma du song den sa
Lesso.
keji jin do sang she ne toma yu dang tama ni rajen le jang ma yi no
Lesso.
ta de shu shi ji bu mi ta de yin ji yong zhe ge ma ro ji bu mi shu me ba ne kala me ji me ba ne du ma me yu ba me ba me shi ba le nye bu yi yu ni me ba ju zhang na yu ba si ba ma yi shir ji ba hong nye bu chetan ju ru si
Okay.
ta wo de nga so le go ge le dang ma ge le ka nga sa du
Lesso.
ne de bu de wa na du nga ka de si wo de
Lesso.
lo ba yi na ne te ka de si wo si na ge le dang ma ge le nga na ge shi ne ge shi ba le de wa na du nga che wo de
Lesso.
wo de
Less so.
La
Okay.
lenga yone len jang deba yang dan juwa riba chi.
Less so. Then Detsuko, the ka, then Injike Lo. 73. You read up to 72. Okay. Rala Lenka. Okay, 72. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. If we're at 65, right? If due to the non-existence of staying, production and cessation do not exist as their own reality, how could production, staying, and ceasing exist in fact? So it's saying, well, if you believe that these things are not truly established, then how could this be truly established? And how could that be truly established? So it starts negating the inherent existence of everything that we cling to. And it says, if always changing, how are things non-momentary? If not changing, how can they be altered in fact? So it's saying some of these philosophical schools state that things are permanent, that they aren't momentary, that there will always be Jeff. But how is that possible if things are momentarily disintegrating? If everything is changing and aging moment by moment? It says, do they become momentary through partial or complete disintegration? So do you think that things are happening momentarily because every moment they're getting a little older, or do you only think so because when it's broken completely, do you not see that there's something leading up to an aging that's taking place to get to broken? Basically it's saying, and then it's saying, hence, how could it be old? So then it's saying, like, we think something's old. Like, oh, that thing's old. Well, then how could it be old? Is it old the moment that it comes into being? 1 moment later, is it old? Or is it old 2 moments later? What establishes it as old? It says also, if non-momentary, it is constant. Hence, how could it be old? So if we're saying that something isn't momentary and isn't caused and isn't happening moment by moment, then how could it age if there wasn't something happening, cause and effect? How could that aging be taking place? How could you say something is old? Because it would always be what it was the moment it came into being if it wasn't cause and effect, and if it just miraculously appeared, and if it had some inherent existence as being something new. Then it wouldn't, if it inherently existed as new, it wouldn't ever age. And then at what point is something new old? So it's starting to question and shake that idea of something is old. Hence, how could it be old? So how could you say something's even old? Like, how do you come up with that? In relation to what? Just as a moment has an end, so a beginning and a middle must be considered. Thus, due to this triple nature of a moment, there is no momentary abiding in the world. So it's saying, because there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to a moment, we're not even abiding for a moment. Everything is always changing. There's 65 moments in a second, according to Buddhism. And it's saying there's a beginning and a middle and an end of each of those moments. So how can you assert old? How can you assert this or that based on that knowledge? So it's saying there's nothing is abiding as anything in this world. It's always changing. It's always has some sort of nature that is changing. And it's obviously talking about impermanent things that are momentary. There are established things that we can come up with that are permanent, but those things still dependently originate. They just don't dependently originate through cause and effect. They dependently originate through a collection. So even permanent things have a north, south, east, and west, or have parts of some sort, even if they aren't caused per se. Due to having many parts, there is no unity. There is not anything without parts. Further, without one, there is not many. Also, without existence, there is no non-existence. So everything is based on relation to something else. Everything that we're judging is based on something else that we're judging it by, and it's never right. it is thought that though through disintegration or an antidote, an existent becomes non-existent, then how, without an existent, could there be disintegration or an antidote? So if you believe that you can cause something to end somehow, then it has to exist because there has to be an existent antidote to cause that to end. If you can stop a car with a brake, for instance, there has to be an existent foot to make that car stop. It's just showing how there's this dependent origination and these existence in this interplay taking place. And it's not random, it's not causeless, it's not non-existent, but it's not established and having some sort of soul. If it is thought that through disintegration or as an antidote an existent becomes non-existent, then how without an existent could there be disintegration or an antidote? Let me see. I think we read Dechir Nyanyen. Shi sum je manga dene ngatsu chua dan lenjab. Deshir nyanyen de pa yi. Deshir nyanyen de pa yi. Jiten dun.
Jiten dun do do major. Jiten ta dan den shi den na shi shuna jae musum kwal ta yue da mes jedu ane sanje ge ta yue mare sumres.
Lesser.
Jawa musum ta yue ba jawa sanje ge sum mares.
Lesser.
Musum shu
Ganshir.
Ganshir tata sami chu hemen dola musum sami chu not morung ga sum yue mares. Sonju mares. Tishir naka tishir na kenaje keba naje kunche thaji chamba shes keba to saji thaji chamba yema shegres.
Bless her.
Tatra neba lebi chu ngele lebi chu geulerwa lebi chu Sama yonso zimeji neme bane dusanje taje ziba naji son neme chunde trabates deba maru shiruna hotel trago yojirwata.
Bless her.
Trabayi chu nela ngagashir. Yöda mele mandeba makenaji ponjuru keba meba zuke magi lesana and the ponjuru ngarun jigres ponjuru.
Chishin the decent Rinpoche. Okay. Hence, in fact, there is no disappearance of the world through nirvana. Asked whether the world. I read 72, right? Hence, in fact, there is no disappearance of the world through nirvana. Asked whether the world has an end, the conqueror remains silent. So just as from a translator's note, the word world is the word for samsara. Does samsara end? If the Buddha was asked, does samsara end? So does cyclic existence end? So basically that question to a Buddha would be asking if everyone becomes a Buddha, because samsara only happens if there is a being who is in samsara, who is samsara is the real way to say it, is samsara. So the reality of suffering is created by our non-virtuous imprints, and if no one has those anymore, then that suffering reality would no longer exist. There would be a non-suffering reality, it would call Pure Land or something, like a heaven, like in Christianity, like a pure place, because there would no longer be any components within any of the beings there for suffering. So their consciousness would only make a world of happiness around them because there would be no non-virtue to create displeasure. And that's all a Buddha is. A Buddha is someone who no longer has any of the ingredients in his or her continuum to make suffering happen. They've gotten rid of all those ingredients and then taken it to an extra level of gotten rid of this barrier to omniscience, which is called the obstructions to omniscience, this barrier of ignorance. That's all a Buddha is. A Buddha is someone who is just like us. They got rid of all of the shitty stuff within his or her continuum that causes suffering, and then as a result of that cleansing, he or she never has to suffer again, because there's nothing. Buddhas operate under cause and effect and karma just like we do. They just don't have the components to make bad things. They don't have the negative, non-virtuous things within their continuum to cause an episode of suffering or an experience of suffering. They only have the things that cause experiences of happiness. So when we have an experience of happiness, that was caused by an imprint of virtue that we created. A Buddha only has those. And the Buddha doesn't have any non-virtue left, so he or she never can have suffering again. And because there's no ignorance left, he or she can't engage in an action that would create more suffering in the future. It's not that the Buddha has great restraint. It's not possible for a Buddha to commit non-virtue. It's not possible for a Buddha to not be compassionate. It's not possible. The Buddha is forced to be compassionate as much as we are forced by our non-virtue to do bad things. So the Buddha is under the control of karma. The Buddha doesn't just free from karma. Karma doesn't just disappear. Karma is reality. Karma is how everything works. A Buddha still has karma. A Buddha just doesn't have any of the crappy karma that causes awful events. The Buddha only has the good things left. And there's nothing left to make bad things occur again, because the Buddha can't commit non-virtue. It's not possible for a Buddha to do something wrong. It's not possible for a Buddha to have the intent to lie. The Buddha could say something out of skillful means, out of compassion to help someone, but it's not possible out of some clinging for the Buddha to say something wrong or do something bad, because the Buddha doesn't have any of those ingredients. So that's all that's happened. The Buddha is someone like us that got rid of all of the bad things that cause bad experiences. That's it. It's no more complicated than that. Getting there is complicated, but what a Buddha is and figuring it out is pretty simple. No more bad stuff. Bad stuff creates bad experience. The Buddha got rid of it all. The Buddha doesn't have the thing that makes the person create bad stuff anymore, so he or she can't. That's it. That's all a Buddha is. Got rid of all of that. And this can't, if you drain something of water and there's no ingredients for water to ever be there again, it'll be empty of water. The Buddha doesn't have any of the ingredients of suffering, so the Buddha's empty of suffering forever. Just like there's no ingredients for water, there's no water. No ingredients for suffering, there's no suffering. So that's as simple as as difficult as it really gets as to what a Buddha is, technically. It says, because he did not teach this profound doctrine to worldly beings who are not receptacles, the all-knowing is therefore known by the wise to be omniscient. Thus, the doctrine of definite goodness was taught by the perfect Buddhas to the seers of reality as profound, unapprehendable, and baseless. Frightened by this baseless doctrine, delighting in a base, not passing beyond existence and non-existence, unintelligent beings ruin themselves. So, believing that there is some solid, inherently existent person here causes a person to engage in all sorts of negative behavior. Because of clinging to self, then you can be robbed. Someone can steal something from you, and then you can react and become very angry. And someone can say something bad that makes, for instance, Jeff feel bad, and you believe and cling that Jeff is inherently existent, and that person is inherently existent, and that word that sounds so bad, like you're called like a bad person, and that word doesn't have any nature of this or that. It's just it's a sound that came out of a mouth that we put together in our mind and then label as this or that. Now, it has intention and all that, so again, things do exist, but we interpret them so irrationally that we cling. And it says that those who are frightened by this idea that we're just a collection of parts and cling to themselves just engage in all of this ignorant behavior all the time and create more suffering. Just create the only thing that could make someone rob you again happen. Create the only thing that could make you poor. Create the only thing that could make someone say a harsh word to you. So it's just, that's why it's called cyclic existence. It's a circle that just keeps going on and on again, because someone who's ignorant and doesn't connect to reality correctly just keeps being born again and again into it until those ingredients are no longer there to be forced into that. And it says that, why would you be afraid of seeing reality? Shouldn't you be afraid of having to do this again? That's kind of what it's basically saying. Like, why would you fear what will make you not suffer? Why would you not want to look into that further? Because there's this whole teaching that when you start to study emptiness, if you don't have a good teacher and you aren't presented it properly, you can start feeling like, this is empty, it doesn't matter, nothing exists, good and evil, all empty, and empty doesn't mean not existent. So that's why it's saying that the unintelligent ruin themselves by clinging to this base, because it's by letting go of that base and understanding that it exists, but let go of it, that makes you not have to experience it again. Afraid of the fearless abode, they ruin others. O king, act in such a way that the ruined do not ruin you. So this is saying that be intelligent, understand that things are not the way they seem. So if you are going to let those who are ignorant and clinging to this reality incorrectly harm you by their words and their actions, then that means you're not clinging to the correct reality, and then you will be ruined just like they are, basically. So again, just as a note, this book was written to a king who had questions about how to run a kingdom. He asked Nagarjuna, how do I be a king ethically? How do I be a Buddhist king? How do I do that? You know, we have wars, we have all of these things. Like, what do we do? How do I be a Buddhist king? So this is what Nagarjuna wrote to the king. Said, this is what you do. Okay, questions. Time for question and answer period. And again, it doesn't have to be about the specific material, and it doesn't have to be either. Khensur Kali Kasong e Tsampa. Tearing Sheda Selbuldu. Gangasena the Becha Sheda Selbuldu. Ngama Rinpoche Sonchina nga the Sheda Selbuldu. Then the Yabuzuso. The Chiran, the Sansan, the Da. The Sheda Selbuldu Tearing Rinpoche. Yes. Anyone? Questions? Yeah, do it. Get on the mic. Get on the mic.
Okay, we're gonna do.
I'm just not having enough fun. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you're boring.
Okay.
Wiki. I encountered somebody recently who's very intelligent and very successful.
Yes.
And in my conversation, they have a belief that they don't need a god or religion.
Yes.
They want to experience everything as it comes to them, interpret it, and muddle their way through it. And I obviously I think differently than that, and I want to produce an argument or some type of presentation that is showing them that you really have to start thinking differently. Because it's like a parable of the monkey walking down the road, and the monkey strutting along, thinking, I can run faster than any animal, I can climb faster than any animal, and a Bengal tiger jumps out and grabs the monkey by the neck, and the monkey in the last few moments of its life is thinking, oh gee, perception. But what type of argument can I use to show someone who's really intelligent that there's got to be something beyond your intellect?
It's great.
Or your perception.
Great question. I was at a teaching or heard it, one of the two, I don't remember. I think it was live, where there's a very, very successful there's a teacher, a Geshe, who's very, very successful in the world, but also became a Geshe. And he was saying the same thing as you. He's surrounded by geniuses regularly who aren't dumb, you know. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of intelligence, and but they don't feel they need any kind of spiritual path. The same, like note for note what you're saying. And he said that, you know, being a Geshe and having all of these intellectual tools, like it's frustrating, because like how do you go about showing this person like that there's going to become a time where you don't have all of the answers? And he said, it's almost like if you could put a pillow over their face, not in reality, and let them know that this body of yours is not going to stay. One day you are going to die, and this is not going to stay here, no matter how strong your armor is. And what does that mean then? What does that mean then? This seems really strong and bold. But then what does it mean then? Rinpoche, the triwa the me kashe ripa shera yapudu, the arila the sen ripa mambo the chu gapo mare, the kongi tsampa chu the me gupa lobjung shegudu, the chu the tepa the mik mua dan drapudu, the tepa the mik mua dan drapudu, gangin serna the dayan da yomare tepa yen. Dene the controbo ripa shera yapudu, then kongi tsampa nga chu gugumare, nga the nima dakpar, dene the nge tona, dene nge tsanlodang, nge me jenda dawa gugumare, dene lapcha garere, gangin sene kong tsampa, kon ripa yapudu, yene kon tsampa chu keo mare, the pentokomare. Dene kon trobo de kon ropa chegu, dene lapcha yurbe.
Sure, the chul government, the one the wall gabo ayus.
Lesso.
Dungel maga ayus.
Lesso.
The wall gabo yona the wag juka.
Lesso.
What the gawag jud druwares.
Lesso.
The dungel government, dungel jud pongo.
Lesso.
What they call the lawares.
So the best place to start with a non-religious person, first of all, Buddhism doesn't proselytize in any way. So we never would. It's just there's always a vessel, and when the vessel is ready, then the vessel will be able to accept what the teaching. And unfortunately, karma is what causes all of our experiences, and the Buddhas can't even change karma. So what to do with those circumstances? So Rinpoche said, if it's a conversation that they want to have, so we'd never just force something, but if there's a conversation that wants to be had, not about religion though, this is a skillful means conversation, Rinpoche is saying. For the non-religious, you would say, are you always happy? Do you only have happiness? And they would say, well, if they say yes, then you just start ripping that apart. Well, didn't you get the flu last month? Didn't your mom die 5 years ago when you called me? And then they start to say oh yeah, I do have suffering. So you don't have this static, permanent happiness all of the time. So why? What caused that to happen? Why the change in experience? Why the change from moment to moment? If you believe and you're an intelligent person, you believe in cause and effect. You believe that you need chocolate and milk to make chocolate milk. So you have to come up with some sort of idea that because the experience isn't permanent, it has to be caused by something. There is nothing that's impermanent in this entire universe that isn't caused. Nothing. So everything that changes has to be caused. So what caused that to happen? What caused the shift from happy to unhappy to happen? There has to be a cause for those things to occur. And there can't be a cause that's the same, because there has to be some kind of concordance. When we look at results are concordant with their cause. You don't put water and water together and get chocolate milk. You need milk and you need chocolate. If you put milk and milk together, you get milk. So you have to have concordant things. So what caused you to feel bad? What caused you to feel happy? It can't be the same thing. So was it, and it can't be from the moment before, because it doesn't seem like it's concordant. You're going about your day and then boom, you get a call and your whole life changes. You didn't do some move, so there's not some linear thing that happened where cause and effect, you can say, well, because of this, then that. You have to start to investigate, basically. And that investigation is a windy road that's very, not something that any one of us could really probably explain in its totality. But it's a question that then leads to questions, that leads to a gnawing feeling that just, it's like, if anybody's ever seen, what's that movie? Inception. It's this gnawing thing that they plant in your mind in a dream that's just gnawing at you. This Geshe I heard calls being poisoned. Once you've been poisoned, you can't just, you're poisoned. Like, you know the difference. Once you kind of know, like, or at least have a question. Arya Davis said, like, even if you have doubt, that shakes your universe. Like, even if you have a little doubt, like, oh, that's strange, that's in there gnawing away at your own reality and what you believe is real. And that's what you do. You start to gnaw away at the concept that I don't need more. But you don't present, yes, you need more. You use, basically what Rinpoche is saying, you use middle way consequence school. You show them a consequence to not believing in anything. The consequence to not believing in anything is this. I don't know why happiness. And then maybe you can come up with some kind of cause and effect, but it's going to take like a lot of driving and thinking around, and it might make you say, well, let me see what others have to say about that. And then you find, like, so these are my options. There's a guy in the sky that made it all happen. Oh, now you're going to have that bad feeling. Now you're going to have this good feeling. Because, and if that's the case, then God has to be imperfect and suffer too. Because cause and effect, we're impermanent. We have to be caused by something that's concordant. Imperfection can't cause imperfection. It's not concordant. We'd have to be perfect. So if we're going to say that we have some creator out there, it's got to be just as bad as the worst of us. Has to be. Free will, that doesn't play out when you start logicking. You can do blind faith and free will it up, but you start logicking, and that doesn't work. Cause and effect. Causes are concordant with their results. And then if you say, well, it's beyond that, then you say, what's the purpose then? And if it's all a test, why is a place created where that test can't be taken? Why wouldn't you create a place where there was a book in front of every single person that had these facts, and then they could test their faith? What's purpose if it's creator theory? So that's, you start planting those kinds of seeds in someone, and then they start investigating, where did it come from? Why did my suffering start? Something out there made my suffering? Something out there suffers and has cancer? Has the causes for cancer, God? That doesn't seem to make sense. And then you say, well, am I self-caused? And then, so that's when the investigation starts, basically. I don't need to give an entire teaching on emptiness right now, but because Rinpoche just did.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just putting questions slowly out there that start to gnaw away at their reality.
I have a question.
Yeah. Is Inception real? I hope so. Oh, anyway, we were supposed to watch that last night, so it's on my mind.
I was kind of blown away by the statement that in our reading today that the Buddha was asked if samsara has an end to it, and he remains silent.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's a tradition on speculation as to why he remains silent and what that silence means.
It was because of frightening people, that this world that you see around you will end. How'd that feel? This will all end. It's that reason. Rinpoche, the garshene sanje, the korwa kagarebe lenja mason, the jutsengare, gangen sena the me kanga sanje, the sanje re, Dene this me kanga sanje korwa yomare. Then garishene sanje lenja mason.
간다서
The me genda sanje chiwa jason. Then the korwa the tambo yurbe. Kon sumpre tambo yomare. Dene tama yurbe. Then kon lenja mason.
타마요 말스
The yene the korwa tama yurbe.
콜 타마요
Then kon lenja mason.
알레
The gomba lodru. That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm gonna read the quote. It's just
그
easy.
저와 매게
Oh, now he's quoting it. Which one is it? 73. The 6, 7. Here goes my awesome numbering. 4. Okay, so that's a 7. Okay, 73. One, two, three. Hold on, one sec. Sorry, guys. Okay, 5, 6, 7. Okay. There.
대신 양은 대바이 이제 왜서 문제시 이제 타다 되는 시 쉬나 자마 이제 타다 되바 토만 토만 타요를 베스나 토미 타요 말어 아니 콜 타마요로
Yine lenjat mason. De lenjat ma.
고바주에지
Then a garishene lenjat mason. The jutsen garere. Then the kon the then the nyanele depa lena. Then korwa the mepa shagamare. Yene korwa tama yurbe. Then the gombo lodru kelen sanje lenja mason. Garishene lenja mason.
고바주에지
Gupa don't gupa.
고바 가자 고바
The megenda shigadu the
배제 되는 인로
gangisene the ngatsu the zambaling mepa sha then chikshina the me mambo shigadu.
근데 고아냐 가요
Then the konsu the sampa.
아
Yeah, so it is that. It's for those who aren't able to understand it. He didn't want to make a blanket statement because he never made blanket statements. The Buddha taught 18 sub-schools of the Vibhashika and 2 sub-schools of Sautrantika, 2 sub-schools of mind only, 3 sub-schools of middle way. So the Buddha taught a lot of different things to scope. So the Buddha didn't believe everybody was ready for the same information. So the Buddha felt that some people needed to believe there was a self. The Buddha felt that some people needed to believe that this was all going to be here forever in that lifetime. So we're talking about beings being presented information lifetime to lifetime, and that each of us are in a different place in our kind of continuum according to Buddhism. And it doesn't mean that when we're in this one place that we are all in a place together that we can have and relate and benefit from the same information. So that's why the Buddha didn't make a lot of very blanket statements, and a lot of it needed to be interpreted afterwards. That's it. Any more questions? Good class. Thank you all for coming. I know it's a busy time of year and a lot of people just choose to watch the video, but there's really a lot of benefit in being able to be with Rinpoche, and also Rinpoche doesn't see all the people watching. It's nice to let him know that, yeah, he does. So it doesn't matter. I remember when one time I was saying to Rinpoche, like, we needed to advertise. This was a long, long time ago, when we were in the other center, and I said sometimes we have like, literally the other center, we would have like 2 rooms full sometimes, and then other times like 4 or 5 people. And I remember that Rinpoche saying, well, it doesn't matter because the first teaching, there were only five students for the Buddha, and that was enough for him. So, the chukor tambo, get you got to do it, nga. Yeah, so there were 5 students at the first teaching that Buddha Shakyamuni gave. And then the whole religion happened. So Rinpoche always says that and I remember we had like 7 at the time. And he said, well, we have more than Buddha did. Because we had 7. So, anyway. Then ngama the ngatsu the zendra the me dunyere. Then nga gonga mebachi me shera mambo lemason. Then chiran lauson keo mare chukor tambo the getru nga ngatsu mo. The ngatsu chutsu nimpa the lo ju nga ngama. The Rinpoche the ngatsu shacha tupa mo ngatsu mo. Okay. Concluding model offering dedication prayer. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandok, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tuji Rinpoche, Gutsi Shapi Denonang, Ngatsu de Rinchen Chewang, Kanga